Hello, mighty hurricanes. It's Miss Wells, and today we are going to continue our lessons about Earth's place in the universe. We are going to be covering weathering and erosion. It's super important to know these two terms because for tomorrow morning's STEM activity, you need to be able to tell me the difference between weathering and erosion. Alrighty, let's remember those two words, weathering and erosion. Alrighty, let's start our lesson. So, what is weathering? Well, weathering is the process of big rocks and soil dissolving. And what dissolving means is that it can get carried away, it can get moved to new places, or become new landforms. It can make a big rock really, really small, so small into a grain of sand. And if you look, you can see in our little picture, we have a big rock with an arrow pointing to smaller rocks, and then those small rocks pointing into sand. There are two types of weathering. There is chemical and mechanical. When we tomorrow to focus on chemical, I want you to show me chemical. You're going to take your hands and you're going to do your wiggle fingers just like rain, chemical. And then when we study mechanical, I want you to do a me. Me is for mechanical. Alrighty, let's practice that one more time. I see mechanical and mechanical, chemical and mechanical. Alrighty, let's keep going. So mechanical weathering forces the breakdown of rocks into smaller pieces. So just like that big boulder we see, it can make that big boulder go into smaller rocks, and those smaller rocks go into sand. Well, how does this happen? It can happen from abrasion, frost weathering, exfoliation, and even salt weathering. And we're going to mostly focus on abrasion. And when we think of abrasion, in class, remember we talked about cymbals and how they smack against each other? Well, that's very similar to mechanical weathering. It's breaking down the process due to movements like earthquakes, storms, tsunamis, lots of weathering that we've spoken about. And then when we think about chemical weathering, that's the breakdown of rocks and their minerals. So yes, they do get smaller, but it's through a chemical composition like acid rain. Remember, we do our fingers and we do acid rain or chemical erosion. It could be through hydrolysis or water. Water can get into rocks and break them down into smaller pieces. Carbon dioxide and oxygen, the air we breathe in and let out, can also affect the way rocks can break down into small pieces. And how does this lead to erosion? Well, erosion is when these tiny pieces of Earth's surface, our rocks, the boulders, these sands, are being carried away from one place to the next. So all those sand pebbles you see on the beach when we go to Laguna, that could be from so many other places like rocks in Bakersfield, rocks in Europe. That's the weathering. Chemical or mechanical can break them down and move them to smaller elements into other places. So why are weathering and erosion important conversations for us in our classroom? Well, it's because we will be studying new landforms. And remember, when we discuss landforms, this could be valleys, it could be mountains, it could be beaches. And every one of these landforms, what do we find? Rocks. What else do we find? Sand. What else do we find? I'm going to let you guys figure that one out for tomorrow. Either way, it's important for us to know how weathering and erosion can focus on chemical and mechanical weathering because it helps us understand how our Earth is constantly changing. And that means, where are these new surfaces coming from? In our next science unit, we will also understand how we can read these new areas of land through maps, because maps show changes of Earth over time. Alrighty, we're going to end our lesson, but one more thing before we go. I want you to show me chemical weathering. I want you to show me mechanical weathering. Remember, I'm going to be asking you that tomorrow morning. Alrighty, my hurricanes. See you soon. Thanks so much. Bye.